Hi guys, welcome to the webinar. If you just put in the chat where you're from, and we can do a few shout outs and hellos. We'll just be starting, wait for some people to register on the Zoom. So we'll be starting in a couple of moments. So yeah. Hope everyone's had a good National Apprenticeship Week. They come around really quickly and then they just come and go, don't they? So hope you've done a lot of activity and celebrated all your apprentices. I know we've been out and about quite a lot this week. So just a couple of minutes left, so we'll just wait for we've had a massive intake of requests to join, so we're just waiting for the last couple to join and then we'll get started. We've got a couple of more minutes. Don't forget to put your name and any questions in the chat for later, because we'll do a live question and answer with all our guest speakers. Give us a wave, give us hello. Welcome to the last people that are coming in. Okay, so it's just a couple of minutes past, so we'll get started. So hello and welcome to the fourth in our series of webinars for National Apprenticeship Week. We've hosted 3 already, one for recruitment, one for schools and one for finance. They've been very well received and we've had a lot of interest and a lot of follow-ups on the back of those webinars. We've had a massive interest in this webinar. Over 200 people have registered for this session. And they the range of large nursery chains to small independents. This session is being recorded for those who can't stream this live, and it will be available and sent out to you afterwards. So next slide, please. Okay, so before we start, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Mark Pierce. I'm a Senior Partnership Exec and Early Year Contact for LMP Group. And I've been here just over a year now, and I absolutely love what I do. I cannot shout more enthusiastically about the power of apprenticeships and how they change lives, how they help businesses grow. And yeah, I just think they're brilliant. I started as a YTS myself when it was a YTS. I'm showing my age. And yeah, can't shout out more about them than I already do. So before we get started and kick off into our session today, I just wanted to talk about who we are, what we do, and how we do it. Here at LMP Group, we are made up of 3 separate companies. We've a collective mission to inspire ambition, and these companies include Let Me Play Limited, who trade as LMP Education, Inspire ATA, and Action. These are some of our brands. Hopefully in us creating this webinar, you've actually seen some of these brands online as well. And our purpose is really to create inspirational journeys and to deliver an excellent standard of learning in all 3 of our companies. We are actually aligned, all 3 companies are actually aligned to our 4 core values, which you can see on the right hand of your screen now. So that's a little bit about us. So in terms of our 3 main services, apprenticeships, we offer apprenticeships and our HLTA commercially. We have Inspire ATA, which is set up as a flexi job apprenticeship agency, which I'll touch on a little bit more later. We also have our adult education budget programs, which is fantastic for some of your existing staff, but also for some of the parents too. So in terms of apprenticeships, we're an award-winning apprenticeship training agency. We're in the top 10. And we do specialise within nurseries to upskill their staff and develop career pathways, right from level 2 up to level 5, which we'll talk about more in a second. We also work with some of the biggest nursery chains, but also multi-academy trusts and large levy organisations, and creating those bespoke training programmes. So it's not just an off the peg, one size fits all. We can bespoke the training programmes to suit the needs of the business and the apprentice. We also work with some of the organisations that train their staff using the levy, means it's fully funded, and they do see huge benefits in staff retention, which again I'll touch upon later. And through our apprenticeship service, you get a free direct recruitment service for any vacancies that you have. And let's just move on to Inspire ATA. Again, another part of our group, and an award-winning employment agency for apprentices that specialise in providing nurseries and support staff apprentices with flexible durations. What is great about Inspire actually employs the apprentice for you. You as the nursery simply host, and it's a really interesting way of doing things. We've had a lot of success in chef, kitchen support, facilities management, to name a few, as well as the early years. I'll move to our short course programs. We've got over 70 different funded short course programs for those who are employed or unemployed, and they're perfect for employees, but also parents. Right, so that's a bit about us, really. Let's move on. So now we're going to move on to our session today, which is all about making the best use of apprenticeships within nurseries and preschools. My job today, like I said, my name's Mark, and I'm your host. And my job is really to get all of your questions answered that you may have. So any questions you may have, please put them in the question and answer section on Zoom at the bottom, because when it comes to the end, I'll be asking our tutor, Katie, and our guest speaker, Michelle, from the Early Years Foundation to answer those with us. So let's get started. Okay. What we're going to look about firstly is how apprenticeship funding works. So many of you know the apprenticeship levy will require all employers operating in the UK to pay into a levy fund if they're over 3 million. This is 0.5%, and the government contributes 10% each month to add to the pot. And you have 24 months to spend your levy or you'll lose it, and it'll go back to the Treasury, which we don't want. All organisations that pay into the levy will be able to access their contributions online through their digital apprenticeship service. And any one of our account management people or our recruitment can help you get onto that system and help you look to see where that is and how much you've got left. This account can be used for apprenticeship training and assessments in England. And when the levy runs out, or if you don't pay into the levy, if you're an independent nursery, then there is a 5% contribution cost, but that's still a very good price for training, and the government support the other 95%. There is a cost to each apprenticeship framework or standard, and this will fall into one of 15 negotiated funding bands. So how do these impact nurseries? We all know one of the pinch points within nursery can be financial. And although the government support 95% for non-levy clients, every little helps. And LMP work with several large levy clients who kindly give up to 25% of their levy funds to smaller organisations. I have helped a lot of independent nurseries or people in the nurseries that don't flip into the 3 million wage bill to have levy gifting, and has eased pressure on financial constraints. LMP can help source and secure funding for apprenticeship training, and therefore saving the 5% co-investment. Okay, so back in January, we put out a blog, and some of our key findings from our clients are staff retention. Staff retention within nurseries is a huge piece of work. How do we keep staff motivated? How do we keep them within your organisation? We all know this is a pinch point and it's hard to keep hold of staff, isn't it? Offer them a 5-year development plan, right from level 2, learn the foundations through to level 3 to gain their license to practice, and then on to level 5, potential leaders. We'll speak to Michelle from LEYF later on how they've harnessed the professional pathways for their chef academy. We have also seen utilising staff development and investing in their career helps retain staff. It's also great for succession planning. Maybe you're a nursery director looking to expand and grow your own qualified staff in time for the increase in government nursery hours. Support the ever-growing amount of SEND in mainstream nurseries. Recruit support staff through 2 of our models, direct employment and our ATA model. There's a wide range of programs that can be tailored to nurseries and, of course, ratios. Okay, LMP offers apprenticeships in 3 areas. Often support staff are overlooked within a nursery. LMP can offer upskilling opportunities to administration and finance staff and team leaders and managers, as well as early years support staff. LAC's course listing is on screen. And just to go through a couple, before I introduce you to the guest speakers, just to go through a couple of the terminology and the meanings of some of the words. Practical period, time on programme, endpoint assessment, as you know, is the endpoint assessment, the final exam, essentially. Funding is what's either took out the levy pot or the 5% co-investment. The way the funding is split, the payments are split. We hold 20% is held back, and we take on programme payments monthly. And then, so now I'm going to be introducing you to one of our first guest speakers, who is Kate. Kate has worked for LMP for 2 years and has over 12 years tutoring experience, can deliver the 2, 3 and 5 early year programme and is an experienced nursery practitioner. So hand it over to Kate.
Thank you. Hi everyone. So I'll start with a little bit about me then. So when I left school, I completed a level 2 apprenticeship programme, followed by the level 3 and then level 6. And I have early years sector-based leadership responsibilities also. So 13 years ago, I then moved into the remit of apprenticeship delivery. And this is typical of all of our assessors having that real sector-based experience within early years. We recognise the needs of all individual learners and that every learner is different. And although we have set milestones and a delivery plan, the needs of all individuals vary, and we tailor how we're able to achieve this in order to benefit the learner and therefore adapt our teaching styles accordingly. So I'll touch on the qualifications we offer in early years and what we believe are the benefits to working with LMP. If you have any specific questions relating to any of the qualifications I'm about to discuss, then please pop it in the chat and we'll answer throughout or at the end. Okay, next slide, please. So we'll start with the level 2 early years practitioner, and this is a diploma and standard based qualification. This is an ideal starting point for all learners aged 16 plus entering the early years world. It gives a foundation of knowledge and skills ahead of further progression opportunities, and the course content will enable learners to have a smooth transition ahead of the level 3. Attaining this qualification demonstrates that the learner, the individual, has all necessary skills and knowledge to provide high quality care for young children in our provision. Now, completing the level 2 qualification first supports the retention of staff, and we're able to value the nature of the qualifications and what each apprentice brings to the sector. So the typical duration for this programme is between 12 and 16 months, 12 months minimum, plus 3 months in endpoint assessment. Now, endpoint assessment for the level 2 consists of a multiple choice knowledge exam and a professional discussion which is underpinned by a portfolio of evidence. Functional skills form part of the delivery for this qualification also. So we support achievement of maths and English functional skills at level 1 with progression opportunities for level 2. If the learner has an opportunity to complete both levels whilst on programme at level 2, this will then exempt them from completion of the functional skills once they progress through to the level 3 programme, ultimately easing that pressure at level 3. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the delivery and the curriculum. So this curriculum focuses on the key learning experiences throughout the learner's time on programme through assessment of knowledge, skills and key behaviours. And the curriculum is broken down into 8 milestones, which covers 14 units within the diploma. So for example, navigating roles and embracing diversity, safeguarding, health and safety, an introduction into supporting SEND, partnership working, introduction into the early years foundation stage, and how to support children's progression through the curriculum. We see the benefits of our delivery and curriculum model in line with our blended learning approach. So we hold recorded group workshops for every milestone, which allows learners to collaborate with other learners from different settings and also share best practice. The nature of the delivery method also means continuously revisiting elements, building on knowledge, stretching, challenging learners in order for them to succeed and really consolidate their knowledge and understanding through practice-based experiences. As well as these group workshops, we also hold sessions face-to-face, one-to-one delivery, online sessions every month, and also 3-way formal reviews with the employer. Now, a natural pathway following completion of this is to move into the early years educator level 3. So this qualification is the progression route from the level 2. And although we're still able to take on enrolments until the 31st of March 2024, and it will continue to be accepted as full and relevant, this qualification is actually being replaced by the updated EYE standard from the 1st of April, which I'll talk about shortly. So we provide, all of our learners have access to additional learning portals too, such as Equal and Ansphere, and these contain a variety of short course programmes which closely relate to the course content. Mark will be covering this a little later on in the presentation. The typical duration for the EYE is 12 to 16 months on programme plus 3 months in endpoint assessment. An endpoint assessment this time consists of a professional discussion underpinned by a portfolio of evidence and a knowledge test, which is broken down into 2 parts. You have a general section and then also a safeguarding section. Other considerations include English and maths functional skills at level 2 or equivalent, and paediatric first aid must also be valid prior to the learner entering gateway. Okay, moving on to the delivery. So this programme then contains a diploma and a combined standard. The diploma covers 23 diploma-based units and also the knowledge, the skills and the behaviours across the standard too. And the delivery of this is broken down into the 7 milestones that you can see on the screen now. So for example, keeping children safe in education. This covers units specifically based on safeguarding, health and safety, equality and diversity. We have so value of play in early years. This is heavily theory-based, but also looking at delivery of assessment and the curriculum. The learners have the opportunity to also complete a longitudinal study through the value of play and assessment and observation milestone, where this gives them the opportunity to work directly with one child for a minimum duration of, say, 4 to 6 weeks, in order to aid progression through continuous planning, observation and assessment. The delivery of all of our milestones are closely linked to the diploma and the standard-based criteria, and the learners also have access to online practice papers in order to support them towards endpoint assessment preparation. Okay. So, as I'm sure many of you have heard, from the 1st of April, we are excited to be delivering the new standard for the early years educator, level 3. So one of the main improvements with this new programme is it no longer includes the diploma, so the 23 units I mentioned earlier. This means that the programme is specifically tailored towards the knowledge, skills and behaviours that are outlined in the new apprenticeship standard. This qualification will still remain a full and relevant level 3 qualification. The revised version is effective from the 1st of April, and the typical duration is between 12 and 15 months, 12 months minimum, plus an additional 3 months in endpoint assessment. So what are the key changes? Removal of the diploma, so a huge benefit. Given the clear links now between the knowledge and the skills, there's much more focus that's allocated on developing the apprentice in their role, and also developing them as an individual in the sector, whereby knowledge-based evidence is consolidated through practice-based experiences. The standard also provides full professional recognition without the requirement for the diploma, removing a lot of added pressure that apprentices have experienced previously. This means maybe less written work and flexibility in terms of meeting key criteria within the standard, and how this is now embedded within the workplace. In terms of our delivery, we are continuing to build on the curriculum based on the revised standard, but it will cover learning and assessment across all knowledge, skills and behaviours, and ample opportunities for the learners to prepare for endpoint assessment. Functional skills. Learners will need to complete maths and English functional skills at level 2, as they currently do on the existing programme. I am aware that there has been a change in the EYFS requirements this year for the maths element, but I can confirm that this still remains as an apprenticeship requirement. So all providers delivering apprenticeships must follow these requirements, and this is different to the EYFS guidance. Maths and English at level 2 is a gateway requirement, as well as paediatric first aid. So endpoint assessment remains as the professional discussion underpinned by a portfolio of evidence, but the knowledge exam, the multiple choice knowledge exam, has now been replaced with observation with questioning in the workplace. Huge benefit here, because it now allows the learners to demonstrate their abilities in their role, removing removing the knowledge exam in place of that live observation, where the learners can really showcase their day-to-day practice. There's also now an opportunity to achieve a merit grade. Previously, it was only a pass or distinction, and the merit can be obtained by the learner achieving a pass in the professional discussion and a distinction in the observation. And I believe that's the only way around. So in terms of career, this is a stepping stone to becoming a family support worker, working as a room leader, supervisor, deputy, play therapist within a children's ward for the NHS. The level 3 is also equivalent to 2 A-levels, which then gives them an opportunity to move into the level 5 qualification too. Okay, so our level 5 early years lead practitioner is a great way to upskill experienced level 3 apprentices into the next level, taking the most skilled members of staff in order to develop a deeper understanding of the early years sector, but also some leadership skills as well. Learners must be in a position of leadership in order to be eligible for this course. So as a minimum, room leader, and then of course, deputy, manager, senior. The programme duration is 20 months plus endpoint assessment at 6 months. Endpoint assessment for this, observation with questions, professional discussion underpinned by a portfolio of evidence, and lastly, a case study with presentation and questioning, which can typically take up to 12 weeks. The breadth of modules are delivered again via a blended delivery model, so through monthly webinars, where the learners can collaborate with other level 5 learners from different settings, combined with one-to-one tutor visits, formal reviews with the employer, and of course, access to learning resources that are specifically tailored towards the key milestones. We also promote study skills, such as academic writing skills, referencing, carrying out effective research. And also there's a large emphasis on reflective practice, not just reflective practice for the learner, but also for members of the team and understanding the roles that their team play within the provision. So in terms of the curriculum and the delivery model, we have 7 milestones and 10 key topic areas. So these cover personal development and CPD, legislation, policy, guidance, child development. Again, a little like the level 3 diploma, the learners have an opportunity to complete a case study, naturally in more depth at level 5, and leaderful practice and the endpoint assessment preparation also. In terms of career, this is equivalent to a foundation degree, and job opportunities include manager, early years coordinator, early years support worker. So for all of the qualifications that I have discussed, these are in line with off-the-job training requirements, and this forms a key part in all of our courses. Mark is going to discuss this now.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you for that wonderful insight and talking us through the progression opportunities for early years, right from level 2 through to level 3 to level 5 and the differences between them all. Great to know about the changes in the early years with the diploma, etc. So many thanks for that. Don't forget, guys, questions in the Q&A, please. I've had some really good ones coming through already. So panelists, you'll be in for some good questions in a second. So next slide is, don't forget, don't let off-the-job training be a barrier. Right from day 1 of a programme, our tutors will meet with the apprentice, staff member and their line manager to identify opportunities to gather evidence for off-the-job opportunities, which is then recorded on our e-portfolio system. Some of what it can and cannot include is on the screen now. We understand the strain staff leaving the site will cause within a nursery, so all of our programmes have been developed to be delivered through a blended learning delivery. Apprenticeships are all about gathering evidence to demonstrate competencies. We do not want to take away your most valuable resource, your staff. We will work with you to make sure we gather the evidence and support for their development. Okay, so next slide, please. So what makes LMP stand out? Why is LMP different? Some of our key differences. Number one, development program. ANSPEAR is a great tool. We offer all early years apprentices over 90 different CPD courses, some of which can directly map towards the standard, to relevant standard, and can be used as off-the-job training. It's a massive, massive resource. And, you know, all the clients that I work with find it amazing when I show them and give them a demo. 2, short courses you can utilize to fill skills gaps within your nursery, and also CPD for your employees. And don't forget, it's for parents too. Tutors. Tutors are vastly experienced practitioners and tutors who continually develop their own CPD to keep themselves relevant and up to date within the industry. Number 4, LMP treat all clients through a consultative approach. It's more about how we can help you and how we can develop you and your nursery and move you to the next stage. So no matter what size the organisation is, all our clients are offered full account management. Adaptability, not one size fits all. LMP can and have worked with nursery chains such as LEYF and developed the curriculum to suit the needs of the organisation. And finally, number 6, our award-winning recruitment service, a complimentary service to assist in your recruitment needs through 2 models, direct hires, and also our Inspire ATA model, which we spoke about earlier. So our next slide will just show the ANSPEAR development program. And if you go into the next slide, these are some of the courses that your employees could select through that program. If you go to the next slide, recruitment. Our award-winning recruitment service, where we advertise, screen and shortlist our apprentices for you to interview, takes the hassle out of recruitment. We also offer full account management, where we will sit down with you to understand your recruitment needs. We will find out what your criteria is and what your pre-screening questions are, and we will take that pre-screening task away from you, and we will handle that and send you a short list of candidates to interview. Don't forget 16 to 18 or 19 plus, there's a £1,000 grant available. Okay, if we go on to the next slide, these are some of our adult education short courses. As you can see, counselling level 3, understanding autism, understanding mental health, some really good courses there that are fully funded and that are open to existing members of staff and also unemployed people as well. So now I'm delighted to be introducing Michelle from next slide. So now I'm delighted to be introducing Michelle from Early Years Foundation. But just before I introduce her, LEYF is a family of 40 nurseries across London. It's a charitable, sociable enterprise that employs over 800 staff across London, with a sociable, inclusive approach that ensure that they are making a real difference to the lives of over 4,000 children and their families each and every year. To date, LMP have trained over a total of 144 level 3 EYE apprentices within LEYF since 2019. And we've currently 43 apprentices on programme with LMP. So I have the great pleasure of introducing Michelle. So Michelle, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I've been asked to come here just to share what we do at LEYF in regards to our apprentices and working with Let Me Play. So just a bit about myself to start off with. I myself started as an apprentice in LEYF, and I've worked my way through nurseries, and now I get the pleasure of being a part of the apprenticeship program and leading it to make sure it's meeting the needs of all our apprentices. So within LEYF, we identified that the sector was obviously having some staff challenges. And for us, we realized it was very important for us to be able to grow our own. and upskill our own and get them to the next step in their career. So just a bit about what we do as a part of our program is we are very fortunate we have a dedicated training space, which is in our Apprentice Academy. And all of our apprentices that get to join, they get 4 days in a nursery and have 1 dedicated day out a week to do training. Now, what we do is we have them as cohorts. So currently we have a number of different cohorts of various sizes, different backgrounds, different eras of where they've come from. Some people that are starting up straight from school, some people that have come from different careers. And with that, what that does is it really creates an inclusive learning environment and gives people an opportunity to go back and forth and see things from different points of view. Now, in regards to working with Let Me Play, what we do have is that we work in unison with them, as me and my part of my apprenticeship team. We have a dedicated tutor that teaches every fortnight, and we teach alongside that. So the teaching with the tutor with Let Me Play, as Mark mentioned, we have a bespoke program with them that works in line with our LEYF pedagogy. And that means all of the units and all of the curriculum that they're doing for the standard runs through and aligns with what we believe in LEYF, so that there's no mixed messaging for our apprentices. Alongside that, the other side of the teaching with the tutor, we teach something called our enrichment sessions. And what that does, it really consolidates the learning that they're getting from all the different units to make sure that the learners get a full understanding of what they need to have absorbed so that they can go forward and be the best teachers they can be. In regards to support for our apprentices, what we do realize is that it can't just be they're taught the theory. We have a real understanding of that. The tutors are teaching the theory. Me and my apprentice team, we're teaching the practice, the opportunity to really break it down. Then they get to go into their nurseries and implement that. So with every unit, that is a repeated cycle. In the nursery, they also have a dedicated apprentice coach, and our coaches are so important to us in really guiding and cascading their learners through on their program. So they've got that support not only in the academy, but also in their settings. We are very fortunate. We also have WhatsApp groups with all of our cohorts, which means they've got that support accessible to their phones. If they need to ask a quick question while they're completing work outside of a training day, they throw it in there, and all of the learners help each other and they work together, and it's a really good unison of support and collaborated working. We are always looking at ways to improve our program as well, because we also understand that we can't just state we aren't perfect, and we always need to grow with the times, as we know the standards change and how we do that. So what we do is take on board a lot of the feedback from our apprentices, our providers, even our nurseries, just to make sure that we are still meeting the needs of everyone involved. Our nursery managers are very important to that part of the program, because they are basically supporting and upskilling to grow their next set of teachers. The good thing with us is at the end of the apprenticeship, not only do you get the pleasure of getting your level 3, but you also are given the opportunity to interview for a permanent role in LEYF. We have other job opportunities you can go on to. So you can finish your level 3, and if you want to, you can then go on and do your level 4, 5, and 6 as a part of our LEYF early years degree. And that's something you can still do and work in the company. So it's a consistent progress, and that's what we want for people. We want people to grow and stay in LEYF and be the very best teachers for our children. Our main bulk is offering EYE, but we do offer business apprenticeships as well as a chef apprenticeship as well. So we are trying to cover all aspects of it, but it's been a real pleasure working with Let Me Play in being able to do that, and they've been such a great facet in ensuring that the program that we're offering meets the needs of not only our company, but also to get the next set of teachers out there in the early years sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. That's great. And it's also so inspiring to know how you take people from level 3 right up to degree, apprenticeship level. So apprentices can understand that alongside mainstream academia like college and university, you can actually do apprenticeships right up until level 7. So that's a great insight. So just to go on to this next slide, this picture on the screen is a real reminder to us here at LMP of our apprenticeship journey. 7 years ago, we started our own apprenticeship program, and the guys on the screen were our very first set of apprentices that we hired. From here, we have grown into a national provider and employer of apprenticeships with almost 1,000 apprentices on our books right now. If we can do that, you can too, and we're more than happy to assist where we can. The next slide is a QR code. Feel free to scan that QR code and book a meeting or an informal discussion with one of our team today, and let us help you start building that strategy. Just let you take a picture of the QR code. Okay, great. So now we come to our Q&A session. As I said earlier, we have had some great questions. So panel, I hope you are ready. So first question, I'm going to direct to Katie, please, if possible. What are the main differences in putting an apprentice onto a level 2 versus a level 3?
Okay, great question. So completing the level 2 qualification supports retention. For learners, it builds the necessary foundations of learning prior to being exposed to more in-depth elements, which are then covered within the level 3. Ultimately, this may be the learner's first job since leaving school, in which case they need to be exposed to the working world within the early year sector and an introduction to that sector before being introduced to the trickier areas, which are heavily focused on in level 3. So, for example, safeguarding, SEND, theory, legislation.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Second question is off the job. So, Kate, again, if I can start with you, and I will ask Michelle as well. Off the job training, the question is, within the busy nursery setting, we cannot afford to give the apprentice 6 hours off the job a week. How can, if we can, work around this? Okay,
so naturally early years staffing and meeting ratio requirements can be really challenging. So off-the-job training needs to be utilised through activities such as mentoring or coaching or shadowing opportunities. This could be through reflective practice or project-based activities and in-the-room experiences that may fall out of the norm. All off-the-job activities, however, must be completed during the learner's normal working hours, and they also must be able to justify that they're learning new knowledge, skills, and behaviours.
Excellent, thank you for that. And Michelle, you mentioned earlier that you do 4 days in the nursery and 1 day in your academy. But do you have any kind of tips for the independent nurseries that maybe don't have access to their own academy?
Yeah, I do believe that understanding the units and what the learners are learning, so really having that collaborative conversation with the tutors and finding out what the units are, means you can really be quite directive with what kind of things you're offering them, the experiences in the setting. So, for example, if you're doing the wellbeing unit, might be a great time to encourage them to do a group with parents about wellbeing, mindfulness, so they can take the time to research, put it into practice, so it's not only benefiting their learning, but it benefits the nursery, the parents, and anyone involved. So it's just about really having that really focused approach on what they're learning and how you put that into practice to support them would be the best way I could think.
Excellent, thank you for that. And what kind of strategies does LEYF deploy to ensure apprentices are retained and actually keep on programme and on the apprenticeship?
We're quite fortunate because we have 61.1% retention rate. I have to add the 1%, you know, it matters. So for us, we're quite fortunate because we're able to offer the next step in progress and the next step of development. We do retain a lot of our apprentices, and a lot of them go on to go into roles such as room leaders, deputies, managers. As I said, myself, I started as an apprentice, but I know lots of people in senior roles that also started in the same way. So we really focus on listening to our learners and listening to our apprentices and what they need to guide them in the next steps, and having that real supportive and collaborative experience in the setting, not only in the classroom, but they get to see all parts of it, right from the CEO all the way down. So everybody's valued when you're working at LEYF.
Excellent, that's great. Just to follow up on that, what kind of support do you put in place to support line managers who take on new apprentices?
So I work quite closely with the nurseries, coming from the fact that I worked in nurseries. I attend the managers' meetings. I also hold workshops and take on board their understanding. We get them involved in our recruitment day, so they get to see it right from the beginning and get to actually cherry pick the apprentices they want to develop in their nurseries. Every month they take a part in reviewing and contacting us. We have Teams calls regularly. Myself and my colleague Liz, we go out and do visits in the nursery to do on-hand nursery support as well, because we appreciate not everyone's going to have the same experience. And we know that this apprenticeship route is unique to every single learner and every single setting. So we take that into consideration.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for that. Another question directed at Katie, and I know you did touch upon this, but somebody just wants a bit more clarity. They've heard the new EYFS rule said apprentices don't need their maths anymore. Could you just kind of elaborate a little bit more on what you said earlier?
Yeah, sure. So the maths is no longer the maths is no longer a requirement in relation to the EYFS, but the EYFS isn't related to the apprenticeship framework requirements. So all apprenticeship providers must comply with the apprenticeship framework, and this stipulates that maths and English at the correct level is required. So this means level 2 functional skills achievement for a level 3 or level 5 programme, and then level 1 achievement as minimum for a level 2 programme. Maths and English is a gateway entry requirement for all programmes. But we provide all of the support that the learners need if they enrol onto programme without an exemption. This is from one-to-one delivery, functional skill support, boot camps, practice papers, individualised learning on our BKSB platform, and also contextualised learning in relation to the early year sector too.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for that. Next question is about recruitment, which I can kind of lead on that. Just like LEYF do the recruitment days, our recruitment team can offer that as well. So if you're a large nursery chain, just like LEYF, and you're having a recruitment drive for the latest cohort, we can, take up a room close to where you are and have like a training, real life kind of, I don't know, mini apprentice type thing. So they can be interviewed, have some, work practices, be shadowed, be kind of observed in that kind of setting, and then we would then open it up for you to kind of interview and then select who you want to take forward, and then the people that were not fortunate, we will then look to kind of find them alternative roles and placements in the area, so we can kind of accommodate them as well. We have got another question, and again, sorry, Kate, it's for you. How do we adapt the qualification to suit the needs of the learner? Now, I know you did touch upon that, that we can, adapt it quite well. But could you just explain a little bit more, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. So prior to enrolment then, our learners are expected to complete an initial assessment for English and Maths on our BKSB platform. They are also invited to complete a neurodiversity assessment on our Cognisys platform too. And then during the first meeting with the tutor, we establish whether a learner would benefit from additional support, either from their past learning experiences, their initial assessment results, or some results from Cognisys. And then from here, we design the delivery programme alongside the learner and their employer to ensure they receive individualised support throughout. As well as this, all of our qualifications are adaptable, and this is to meet the needs of every learner. For some learners, they may be able to retain information from completion of an assignment. For others, this may be a challenge. So naturally, we have to adapt the delivery and assessment strategy to suit everybody, whether the qualification is assessed through assignments or professional discussions, observations, project-based work, work products, witness statements, or a combination of all of those. During the during the planning meeting, we invite the employer and the learner to share any internal training that they have scheduled. So although our delivery model is pre-designed, if a learner is working through, say, for instance, Noodle Now courses, we can also then introduce any associated units within the qualification too. So for example, if the learner was completing a Noodle Now course based on the early years foundation stage towards the beginning of their programme, and our delivery model stipulated that we usually introduce this at, say, month 6, we would bring that forward for that added consolidation for the learner.
Excellent, thank you for that. Our next question was coming for Dora, but Dora's had to jump off for a second, but I can answer this. The question is, what e-portfolio platform do we use? So we use Smart Assessor as the e-portfolio to kind of record all the assignments and the progress and where the apprentice should be at versus where they're at. Employers will get logins and access, so they can also see where their apprentices are at any moment in time. And we do work on constant reviews where we invite the employer and the apprentice. So if the apprentice is behind, we can put interventions in place so we can keep them on track. We also have invested heavily on Articulate 360, which is a great new platform where we can kind of mould and kind of do interactive and bespoke learning and training for the nursery chain, nursery setting, if it's an independent, or even to tailor the needs of the apprentice. So that's very exciting, and we can't wait for that to be released. So we look forward to sharing that all with you in due course. I think that's the end of the questions. If I can just kind of go around the room and just ask Katie, is there any last remarks or points they'd like to share or raise or say?
No, not really. I think we've covered it all. Thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. And yeah, thank you, Mark and Michelle.
Perfect. Michelle, the same question to you. Is there any last snippets of it, of like, gold? Is there any kind of anything else you want to share?
I would just say apprenticeships are the best way to really fill those gaps and help people grow, and try your hardest not to see people as their stereotype. Everyone's got an opportunity, everybody has a chance, and that's what we really want to do, is just keep pushing forward in any way we can. Excellent.
I know throughout the whole of the webinar, I've kind of mentioned about levy gifting, and I'm a big advocate of, I hate the money going back to the Treasury, and I love kind of helping independent nurseries get the funding so they haven't got to do co-investment. So if I can just ask one quick question to Michelle that I should have asked earlier. Have you kind of used any levy transfers to fund any training for LEYF?
We've been quite fortunate because we have had lots of apprentices in the past couple of years. So we've been quite fortunate because we are a levy payer and we do have our own pot of levy, but when we're taking on large cohorts, such as we've got a cohort at the moment of 28 learners, that's a lot of funds. So we are quite fortunate that we do get levy transfers, but it does take a lot of work in. So anytime there is anybody, if there's anyone on the call that wants a gift, we're always happy to take some. But it is definitely something that's really helpful and really supportive in being able to reach the numbers that we do reach by having that levy transfer.
Excellent, thank you for that. And that brings the webinar to a close. Once again, happy Apprenticeship Week to everyone. And the slides and a copy of the webinar will be emailed through to you. Again, scan the QR code, book in a discovery call, book in an informal chat with one of our consultants, and we can kind of help you use the power of apprenticeships. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.